Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
Good morning to all our listeners, and I hope you are having an awesome day. We are thrilled to have you back in the universe of the WITEE Chatterbots. We are coming live from the bohemian city of Melville from Brand Live Studio. I'm Carmen Murray, tech visionary, and I'm with my double trouble, Jessica McIndoe, social media fundi. Morning, Jessie.
Morning, Carms. It's a lovely hot day today.
I'm telling you, I'm actually not dressed properly for this day, but yeah, it is what it is now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to survive.
No, it's cold in the morning, hot in the afternoon. You just never know. Winter's coming.
Oh my goodness. Listen, guys. So how's this for irony? Today is Frozen Food Day. And this is like an international day. Don't look at me like that. It is International Frozen Food Day. Yet we have this enduring crisis with listeriosis outbreak. I hope I've said that correct.
Yeah.
Which has got symptoms like the flu. Or I think the outbreak has had like 948 cases, and we've had 180 deaths already. And I'm sure that you've seen all over the news, frozen foods, but especially Enterprise and Rainbow, Polony, all of the bacons and all those things. So guys, be careful. I think that there's a policy that you can actually take the food back. Hey, Jess? I think you can take it back and get refunded. Exactly. Especially if you're a pregnant mommy as well. Just be careful because that could have severe repercussions, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, and go to the doctor. If
Yes.
you think you're not well, just go and check it out.
Yes, don't. It's not like, like a flu that you just ignore. If you get a flu this season, please go and check it out. Anyway, moving on. So Jess, I don't know if I've ever told you, but I have a secret crush on Albert Einstein. I know he's not here anymore, but I'm like obsessed with him. And when I saw, I don't know, have you seen the Sophia robot? So
Yes.
the first robot with citizenship, they've created another one, which is Albert Einstein. And I was like, oh my God, I would love to have that one in my house. It would just be so awesome. So always when people ask me if you had to choose like 2 or 3 people that you would have dinner with, the one person that always comes up is Mr. Albert Einstein. I find him completely mesmerizing. So I'm just going to give you a bit of a background. Don't know if you know this. But so obviously Einstein is a rare icon, and his wisdom extended far beyond the realm of science to reveal a man. He's almost had this childlike sense of thinking and imagining the world. I mean, he was always saying, like, if you want an intellect or a child that's intelligent and learn, you read to them fairy tales. He was just like, I loved him. He was just like so whimsical. But as a physicist, his work is also known for its influence on the philosophy of science. He was one of the greatest minds ever to be alive. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't know, I mean, there's myth that goes around that he failed maths, which is absolute nonsense. But he actually was an average student. And the only subject that he did well was maths.
Yeah.
So that gives me hope. So I didn't do great at all my subjects in life. 1 or 2 maybe. But in the end of the day is that it's just like it proves that, when you have a passion towards something and one particular thing that you need to pursue it, like you can't be an expert of everything. And we'll unpack that later. But another thing is that he was a violinist. So he had a very creative side of things with music.
Okay.
And if he did not make, his friends always used to say, if he does not make his career, as a physicist, then he would pursue a career as a violinist.
I didn't know that.
But that shows you now where the creative side comes in with all these philosophies, because these philosophies, and he loved people. But anyway.
Can you imagine if he was a violinist, how different the world would be?
I know, because we rely on his theory of relativity. I mean, okay, anyway. In 1955, in those days, his net worth was $1 million.
Yeah.
In those days.
Oh.
I mean, that is like worry-free life is like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about it. I don't know. Maybe a money part, but there's a lot of other worries that these guys need to worry about. Oh my gosh. He's won a Nobel Peace Prize. He's married twice. He's one wife with his last wife was his cousin. He loved women. Yeah. Anyway, but the most fascinating thing, and I think that leads me into some of his quotes, which we're going to unpack now. And he has one of the largest brains that's ever existed. His brain is 15% larger than any human being. And when he passed away, they took his brain, and I think they split his brain in two, and it's gone. It's actually exhibited, so you can actually go and experience and actually look. And there's a whole study that they've done on his brain when he passed, because he was just a genius. And when he was born, they were very concerned because his head was like so big, and they thought, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with him and he's not going to survive. And look what happened. Hey,
Coleman's like, take me back to 1955.
Oh my gosh. So what we're going to do today, Jess, is a little bit different. Usually we have guests in, or we chatterbots about certain topics, but we're going to have a very broad overview today. So we're going to look at some of Einstein's quotes.
Yes.
And
I love
some
his quotes.
on the things, because those quotes inspire me so much, and how that applies to today. And then that can be our conversation, our starting point for a topic.
Perfect.
And let's see where it takes us, because you know how it goes. Okay,
The
Jess.
producer's laughing here going, yeah, it's the Chatterbots again.
Okay, I'm going to start off with the quote, and then you tell us what's on your mind. Okay. So one of Albert Einstein's quotes, which is a quote that has a very deep meaning to me, and I'll tell you guys later, but everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid.
This is one of my favorite quotes. I actually shared it on LinkedIn, and it's really, really true. So I think really on this quote from Albert Einstein, for me, it really talks around, that everybody has the ability to be clever, and it's just really around, if we think in terms of leadership, like, just like they say, if you judge a fish to climb a tree, a fish can never climb a tree.
Yeah.
So, it's really around how you as a leader inspire and empower someone to climb that tree.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
And that's true. I mean, like, if you had to put me in an environment and say that I need to become a doctor,
oh no,
I would be a disaster at that. I would hate my life because I don't like blood, and I love human beings, but I don't like to know what's going on inside them. I'm not even Anyway, I mean, the interesting thing is that also based on this is that if we go back into the schooling, and you had some very interesting points on this, but if you look at children and how children are learning, so if we look at a car, the cars that we have today, and the cars that we had when did the first car come out? Oh my gosh,
a long
say in the
time ago.
40s, okay? Oh, gosh, don't kill me if I'm wrong. I don't have
Way back when.
the time frame right. But if you compare what a car was then and what it is today, it's evolved, right?
Yeah, actually, on that point, right?
Yeah.
So my friend, they hired a car when they went overseas.
Yeah.
And the kids didn't know how to open the windows because they still had windy things at the back. And they were trying to find the button and couldn't, like, Dad, how do we open the window?
Oh my
the
gosh.
kids didn't know you had this little windy handle.
Same. But just on that, so if you look, okay, right, you have an old car that's evolved into this new car. We even have electric cars now, and gosh, soon cars are going to fly to Mars. I don't know. But then we look at the phone and what the phone was and what it is today and how it's evolved. But the one thing it never evolved is Socrates' style of education. So education, the way it was taught many years ago, is still the same methodology that we use today. And that's something that I think is absolute nonsense.
No, agreed. I think I was telling you the one time. So, I was financial manager for years, so we had to sit down and do maths homework.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, maths homework in grade 2 and 3 is at least an hour of time. And my little one was struggling with how to get to the answer. So we sat down and we tried this way and we tried that. And because she had this kind of like, I don't like maths. And I was like, well, I like maths. How are we going to get there? Because at the end of the day, in my view, it's like, it's not how you get to the answer. It's that you get to the right answer. So we sat down and she was like, it clicked. It was amazing. Like her face lit up and she was like, yes, I get this. And we did like 5 pages of math and she got them all right.
Amazing.
And she felt amazing and she loved maths. And the next day she came home from school only to tell me that her teacher had told her to tell me that's not how we do it. So I may not show her that way because that is old school and they do it a specific new way. So now she sits and she still struggles.
In the box
And
thinking.
it's like,
No, but you see, this is the problem that I have with this whole educational system. We're killing creativity.
yeah, we are.
We are, if you look at scientists, when they study the brain, it's like DNA with your fingerprints. There's no brain that's exactly the same. So every person has a unique way of thinking and a unique way of getting to things. And we're creating robots out of people.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to force them to think a certain way. And that's exactly what Einstein meant when he said you can't force a fish to climb a tree because that fish is always going to think it's stupid. I did some research and it was quite fascinating. In Finland, they were doing, they have this whole new impressive way of how they do school days. So they make the school days shorter. The teacher still gets the same wages, but there's a huge, huge improvement in the educational system in Finland, one of the best in the world, because what they do is they don't give homework. They give them projects where there's collaboration, no competition.
Yeah.
And that's why it outperforms, because it creates an environment where it's team-based and we have to work together to solve this problem. And you've got a talent in something, I've got a talent in something. Let's bring those talents together. And we're one force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, no. I mean, they did that in Cape Town where they did the study.
Yes.
And, they took the homework away and those schools are outperforming the other schools. One of the things that I saw as well is about the collaboration also in Cape Town. So my other half's daughter, they also did the collaboration, met at the beginning of the term, sat down on bean bags and were given a project. They had to come up with an idea, advertise the idea, beg, borrow, steal the money to make the idea happen that they had to pay back, and then go and sell stuff at a fair and make money and see who made the most money. And the whole education behind that, she came and sat down and spoke to me for an hour and a half about supply and demand and economics and how it actually works. Like, I had a full understanding from a proper physical, doing environment and who's creative and who's got the money mind and who's the negotiator.
See, I like that.
Yeah.
It's like, when you work in your corporate environment or in your entrepreneurial environment and you have a big task at hand and you all get together in a room. Okay, you're good at this, you better do this.
Yeah.
You do this, you do that. And you need to bring all of those talents together and put them in one pot. I think in Scandinavia, I can't remember exactly where, in Scandinavia, they've got a similar system in the school system where they say, okay, what's your passion? So say, for example, your passion is butterflies. Then you go out and you have to go and find the butterflies, research the butterflies. You need to create an environment, an ecosystem for it. You need to create a worm farm for it. And you have 12 months so all of the things that you need to study in that here, like maths and language and all of that is in this project by itself, because you're going to have to do mathematics and have a budget, and you're going to have to apply certain business rules. You're going to have to nurture the ecosystem, and that is the projects that they have to do for school. So your whole year is based on a project that you're passionate about.
Yeah, and I think also by having that passion, then you can kind of discover what your gifts are.
Exactly.
So, you can it's learning through something that you're passionate about. Much stronger.
There's only one you, and nobody can duplicate another person. But this brings it back into the corporate environment is that we need to really as leaders ensure that we empower our people to bring the best results to the business by using their best abilities. Because when you force people to do things they hate, you're doing harm to your business, but you're also creating an environment where people are not creative and they're not passionate.
Yeah. And I think it's also about giving people the ability to be proactive, to use the gifts, use their proactivity to create something really, really special. I mean, that's why you're in the environment in the first place, is someone's seen something in you. So, really to inspire and get them to achieve something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I hope you guys have learned from that quote. And
good old Albert.
Albert.
Don't make people fish.
Albert. Okay, so the next one, which was also an interesting thing, is Albert Einstein's theory of happiness. So one time he was in the streets he was in a hotel, but he didn't have money with him, so he couldn't tip the bellboy. So what he did was he took a piece of paper and he wrote a quote on it and gave it to this bellboy. And this bellboy kept this note for many, many years. And I think last year they sold it for millions of dollars. Just under $2 million, I think. And what it said was the following: a calm and modest life brings more happiness than the pursuit of success combined with constant restlessness. And that is so true.
Yeah.
Because we as human beings are becoming cravers, and we are always in this pursuit of releasing that craving. So a great example is, okay, now I will call it out. Shoes. If I see a beautiful pair of shoes, say Louboutins, and I see those shoes, I will think about them and think about what outfit they would look great with, and it becomes like so obsessive, like where and how I really need those pair of shoes. And in order for me to become peaceful and to just get over it, I need to go and buy those pair of shoes. And basically what I'm doing is I'm releasing my craving.
Yeah.
So it's not really about the shoes. It's about getting rid of that anxiety feeling that you have to have that particular thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this is so powerful, because we need to be comfortable with less is more.
Yeah. I'm reading a book at the moment as well, and about, how really, because we've had so much technology and there's social media and all this kind of stuff, is like we sit at home and we like log onto Facebook, and everybody's sharing lovely pictures, or Instagram, and everyone's happy and they're having the party and they're out and their life looks so fantastic. And then you sit there and you go, well, I'm not out. And then you get a little bit miserable. And then you get upset with yourself because you're miserable, and why are they happy and you're not happy. And then you get more miserable because you're miserable because you were miserable.
Exactly.
So, and we put like this huge pressure on ourselves, and it's key, like what you said, like happiness is going, what makes me happy? Like, do I need to have all these material things? Like, it's the small little things that count.
Yeah. And I mean, also, what's very important is when you have that peacefulness, it's like you choose your battles and you're like, okay, right, am I really going to create this friction in my life?
Yeah.
Because I'd rather, maybe I'm craving at that particular moment in time that I need to address this issue and I need to get all wound up about it. But all you're doing is stealing your own peace. And you need to decide who gets who gets to steal that piece.
Yeah,
and it's making a conscious decision. Look, I mean, we're all human. We do get upset with each other and we have our issues, and it's human. But I think it's important to be centralized and balanced and in your core, and to understand what brings you that peace. And that's, I think, his theory of happiness works for me.
Yeah, no,
Easier said than done, but it works. Okay. Now, the next one is my favorite. Okay, but now I've just got a flash for an advert, so I can't go into this. Okay, let's go through to that. Yay! my God.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
Brand Live.
No doubt.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
The WITEE Chatterbots. Join myself, Carmen Murray, and my double trouble, Jessica McIndoe, with our big personalities, and we will present you with an insightful yet fun show.
We will feature interviews with industry heavyweights and unpack everything from new technologies, marketing trends, and case studies to empower you to be ahead of the curve.
Brand Live.
Join us on this exciting journey every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock and start a conversation on hashtag WITEE Show.
Hashtag WITEE Show.
Thank you.
You're listening to brandlive.co.za.
Welcome back, everybody. If you're just joining in, you're joining the hashtag WITEE, Women in Tech Empowering Everyone, Chatterbots. Just before we went to break, my double trouble Carmen Murray was going through her love of her life, apart from her husband, of course, Albert Einstein. So we're just touching on an amazing man and some of his amazing quotes, and how they kind of resonate with what we're going through now in our times.
Society,
So we had to go to the ad break, and Carmen was like, "Oh, here's my favorite." So let's get into the next one, Carmen.
Yeah, I had to be obedient to the engineer and producer. Okay, so one of the most powerful quotes I think that exist is, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solutions. So this time of the year, I actually read an entrepreneur, which was very interesting. This time of the year, we're focusing on finalizing our fiscals.
Yeah.
And it's planning, and implementation is starting to happen now from March for most organizations. And the one thing is now it's just like fly. Now it's like run and go, It's like pick up your stuff and run with it. And one thing is that we are in a time in our lives where we're losing a bit of ourselves, I think, in marketing, because we are following tactics, not necessarily strategy.
Yeah.
And we are always chasing the new, and we are overwhelmed by the pace. And what this leads to is that we find quick ways to solve problems. And we focus more on the solving of the problem than the actual problem and diagnosing the problem. And that's why I think this is such a key thing in exploring a problem. I read about Michael Cooper. Michael Cooper has this way of how you solve a problem, and I really found it fascinating. He said, you explore the current situation, the impact and consequences, which we usually do, but you need to have data to back it up, and then you have to make a sentence and explain to yourself, okay, the problem that we are trying to solve is ... and you write that down. And then you ask yourself, why is that a problem? And then you unpack that problem. And then when you start going, why is that a problem? You get to a new problem. And then when you get to that problem, you go, why is this a problem? And for 55 minutes, you should be going, why is this a problem? Until you get to the real core of the problem and the source of why that is a problem.
Exactly.
I love that.
That's
I was
amazing.
we always just stop at the second one, I think.
Yeah. No, you got to dig deep and then find out in the end, is it actually really, was the original problem actually really a problem?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you could have focused all your energy on something that wasn't actually really the problem.
Exactly. I mean, look at the theory of relativity. I don't know if you've ever watched the documentary of Albert Einstein, but when he had this idea in his head and really wanted to get to the bottom of it, he was obsessed with it. And it was years and years for him to get to this, and where it actually got acknowledged by the universities and by other scientists, and where it was an official paper, and it was it was like truly an obsession for him to solve this problem because he was thinking about it quite a lot. And many times I think what we do is like we give up. We so easily get confronted with the situation or with the problem in our lives that we think that we don't have the ability to deal with it and to handle it and to fix it. But we do. We just need to think a lot more about it.
Yeah. It's about thinking and being strategic in what you want to tackle.
Exactly.
As well. Like, I think if we take all, like with the quotes and that, is where a person has a passion and finding that passion and finding the real root cause of the problem and strategically focusing your efforts. That's like, it's key.
Yeah.
You know, and you get to the
Absolutely.
solution in the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
So another thing about Albert Einstein is I think we all use this somehow in business. Is we always say we cannot solve problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. We need to be creative problem solvers.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of doing things differently. Like some people actually I was talking to a lady this week in her office. The thing that's got the most insurance in her office is Lego.
Yeah.
Over 40,000 rands worth of Lego. Because that is what they use for strategy sessions, and that's what they use for problem solving. Is just like building while they're thinking. And that creativity unleashes something completely new for them.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah. I love Lego.
And it's moving away from lateral thinking, and I think design thinking has become really very important and a big trend. But one thing that we need to also understand is that linear thinking doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
And we tend to solve problems with linear thinking. I mean, I think we all do that.
Yeah.
And if you think about how a customer makes a decision, if you look at the McKinsey customer journey, it's in circular motion. It's like it's not linear. Okay, now I'm going to go to your website. I get awareness. Now this is going to happen. Everybody comes in and out on their own journeys, and it's important that we understand that and use the imagination part of how we're going to become part of all of those journeys.
Yeah. It's like, you know, when people say think outside the box,
Yeah.
or like what box? If you
Yeah.
don't have the imagination and you don't give people the chance to be creative, then there'll always be that box. Like it's the whole how to
Yeah.
get outside of that zone and
Yeah.
encourage people to be more creative and insightful.
Exactly. I mean, for me personally, when I'm in a strategy session, I think every single word I say is, imagine we could do this. Imagine we could do this.
That's because you're an Imagineer.
I love imagining the possibilities. And they say, if you can imagine it, you can create it. If we look at everything that we have around us today is because somebody had the courage to imagine and somebody was curious enough to understand how to do something.
Yeah.
You know, if I look at, she's like, I should maybe start studying how to make a shoe.
Yeah, it'll save you lots.
And see if I can get to something different. That I
You'll
don't have
make
a
a
broken
lot of
ankle.
money. You'll be like,
I have to solve
The
the
common
problem of this
range.
ankle today. Guys, I have to tell you, I wore high heels last week. I don't know what happened, but I have this huge swollen ankle. I can hardly walk and hardly drive, never mind. And this is all because of a shoe and a high heel. Anyway,
but
that's
you
so
looked
superficial. But I mean, like, just to get back to the creative problem solving is that I think it's important also, one of the other things that Albert says is that the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination.
yeah.
Read fairy tale books. I mean, like somebody was telling me the story of the emperor.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I was like, yes, see, you know, like actually think about that story. There's so many ways of how you can connect that to your life and how the little boy saw the what was it with the parade, and he saw that he wasn't really wearing clothing and he was naked, and how this boy called it out and everybody else could see it but they didn't say it, and the authenticity and calling people out is sometimes a good thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? For me, it's like there's so many ways of applying that. But getting back to a creative problem solvers, I think you need to modify your thinking, go through a whole discovery way, and try and do things differently. Like, you know, don't think linear. As Albert would say, the subatomic particle of creativity is the idea.
Exactly. I use that at home with my little one. So when you get to the why stage, like why, I always say, why not? And the most amazing things come out of her imagination of why not, rather than me giving her advice on the why, because I don't have all the answers.
No, exactly. And you
So-
sometimes, and this is the whole thing of being an adult, is that you need to learn to solve problems creatively. You know, the one thing about Albert that was fascinating for me when I was reading about him is that he actually, when he had to solve a problem, he created a children's book out of a problem. So he used to draw pictures that tells a story of the problem. And
Yeah.
it became like a children's book. And it almost like reminds me of Dr. Seuss, like Dr. Seuss as well. It's like got
Yes,
this like
yeah.
crazy like imagination. It's
That-
like,
yeah.
and the stories and the lessons behind it. And I think it's sometimes important, you know, when you are starting to explore that problem, that you need to become very, very creative and draw. And somebody once told me something very cool. It's like, you always, when you start with something and you want to solve a problem, you start with a pencil and a piece of paper, because that motion of drawing and the fact that it's not permanent and you can actually rub it out
Yeah.
has something that it releases in your cortex, and the way that you design and the way that you think and do your mind maps. And I started doing that. I must say, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of mind maps. I have like 50 million colors. Like no one would understand the page, but it's like, how does this all go together? And it becomes this creative, like, mind splurge of stuff. And you're like, yeah, I can see it. And
I always do
it's so
clouds.
important.
Little clouds. So the next one, which you're probably all familiar with, is insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So a person who never made a mistake never tried anything new.
Yeah.
So, Jess, what do you think?
Well, this is one of the big things for me is like, I really believe that you need to be proactive and try. Because if you sit and work on this thing for a long, long time, you're never going to get it right. So you just try. Like I do it when I'm doing my lectures, and I say, there's no such thing as a social media expert. There isn't. We all try. We have a guess. We think this is what we're doing. Then we go out there and we try, and then we learn. So if you don't experiment and you don't try, and you don't try again and try again, then you actually set yourself up for failure, because it's like, oh, well, that didn't work.
No, agreed. I also think that the thing that we need to remember is all about fail fast. I think so many times when we do things, like we have a project in our heads, something that we want to achieve, and we're working so hard to perfect it.
Yeah.
And once we put it out, we're so committed to it, and if it doesn't work, we are just leaving it there because we feel that we need to have it out there because we've put so much time into it. And the important thing is also, is to understand with bold experimentation, what is it that's not working? And, is there a way of fixing it? But if you perfect things and put it out there, you're wasting precious time of fixing things.
Yeah. And like you said, fail fast, but also fail forward.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
next one and the next one and the next one until you get it right.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at Elon Musk, you see how many times has he failed? And you know what? He's just persistent, even with his last bit of money, and he gambles a lot of his revenue, but his income. I mean, PayPal, when he sold the business, experimenting with the space mission. I mean, like, it's just insane the persistence that this man has, and he manages to get things, and he's willing to gamble. And risk takers are those people that actually, and I mean, I'm on that journey as well, but I mean, risk takers are people that will survive. Because you are forcing yourself to be creative.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said, persistence. And if you don't take the chance and you're trying to sit there making it perfect, you'll never get that result.
Exactly. So there's no way of avoiding poor results. It's just being tactical. And also don't confuse movement with progress. you need to understand the difference where you're being actually. Oh, I'm seeing that I have to start talking quickly. I can't go into the next one. But yeah, so very important. Don't confuse movement with progress. And I think the last one that we can cover today from Albert Einstein is learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is not to stop questioning. So you had an interesting point on that.
I think it's like really around, if you're questioning things, and we said like going and trying things and the why. Because if you have a why, then you've got the how. So you continuously optimize. So when you're doing stuff, you're continuously learning. And if you're not continuously learning, then you can't optimize and you can't improve, and you can't get to the end goal of driving that passion. So you have to question everything. So why didn't this work? How are we going to improve this? Why did I not get my pay rise? How can I improve? What can I do better? So always ask those questions. Like never stop asking. Nobody knows everything. Always ask questions.
100%. And I think it's questioning things as well in life. I think that rules were set by ancestors, and these things that we in society live by, all of these certain rules. And I think you need to be curious and you need to question things. Why is it that society tells me that I need to do something this way or that way? Because that is where the box thinking starts, where we think that that's the only way to a solution and we become robotic about it. But when you start questioning things and you go into the depth and why that was an idea or a rule that was set in society. Because you also need to remember when the rules are set, it was set around a certain environment. So those rules won't necessarily apply. I'm so used to email. Those rules won't necessarily apply. And there's this famous saying also by Albert Einstein, which says, first you learn the rules, and then you play it. First you learn the rules of the game, then you play the game. And that's important in life. But I think everything ties in together. And if we just quickly go through it again in terms of leadership, not to force a fish to climb a tree, and to embrace people's differences, the theory of happiness.
Yeah. So don't have the want. Just do the, what makes me happy. Let
Exactly.
me be happy.
And peacefulness and applying that in your whole environment. Also think about problems more, or think how you solve the problem rather than the solution, because that will automatically come, and being creative around solving those problems, but also not to be in a position where you're so obsessed that you never get it out there, so that you can learn the lessons and, fail fast and see where things go wrong so that you can improve things. Don't sit and hold on things for too long, and optimize. And that's it. I think that's all we've got time for today.
Yeah, be an Albert.
Thank you, Albert.
Yes.
Mwah. Bye-bye now.
Cheers.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. Brandlive.co.za